Australia begins enforcing world-first teen social media ban. And also Cambodia is ready for peace talks. Good afternoon, Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Brenda Lepol. Australia has implemented the world's first social media ban for children under 16, drawing global attention to the landmark move. Now in Sydney, Australians expressed mixed perspectives on Wednesday as access to major platforms including TikTok, YouTube, Instagram and Facebook was blocked in a bid to protect young users online. 10 of the biggest platforms were ordered to block children from midnight or face fines of up to $33 million under the new law. The move drew criticism from major technology companies and free speech advocates, but was welcomed by many parents and child advocates.
We'd always regulated media in the public interest, and I think what the government's trying to do is to return some of the public interest. That's a good thing because, as I say, there have been harms.
I think it cuts kids off from the community more than forcing them back out in real life. I think it just cuts them off from support as well that they could be accessing. They are now going to have to get their news only from traditional media, which has a particular bias.
The rollout caps a year of debate over whether any country could practically stop children from using platforms embedded in daily life. It begins a live test for governments worldwide frustrated that social media firms have been slow to implement harm reduction measures. Several countries, from Denmark to New Zealand to Malaysia, have signalled they may study or emulate Australia's model, making the country a test case for how far governments can push age gating without stifling speech or innovation. Meanwhile, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese offered a personal message directly to students aged under 16 as the country began enforcing world-first underage social media ban.
Hi there, students. It's the Prime Minister here, and I wanted to speak to you directly about something very important. From December 10, if you're under 16, you're no longer allowed to have a social media account. You'll know better than anyone what it's like growing up with algorithms, endless speeds, and the pressure that can come with that. That's why we've taken this step to support you.
Seated in his office in Canberra, Albanese urged children to reach out to their parents, teachers or Headspace and Kids helpline if they had questions or needed support through the transition. Let's turn to Thailand and Cambodia conflict. Cambodia is open to immediate bilateral talks with Thailand to bring a halt to a raging border conflict. A top advisor to its prime minister said after the neighbors accused each other of violating a truce brokered by US President Donald Trump.
We both understand that, and our leader also announced that this is a lose-lose game. So in order to have a win-win, we both nations, you cannot move Cambodia to anywhere, you cannot move Thailand to anywhere. So we better come to a consensus where the point is reached. So that's why saving life is the most important.
At least 13 people have died and hundreds of thousands of displaced on both sides of the border, but both governments have so far appeared unwilling to back down and start negotiations. This week's clashes are the deadliest since 5 days of fighting in July that killed dozens before a shaky truce was agreed, in large part owing to intervention by US President Donald Trump. Thousands of children have been admitted for treatment for acute malnutrition in Gaza since an October ceasefire that was supposed to enable a major increase in humanitarian aid. The biggest provider of malnutrition treatment in Gaza, UNICEF, said that 9,300 children were treated for severe acute malnutrition in October, when the first phase of an agreement to end the 2-year Israel-Hamas war came into effect. UNICEF has significantly increased the amount of aid entering the enclave following the 10 October agreement, but major challenges remain. The agency cited delays and denials of cargo at border crossings, route closures, and ongoing security risks that continue to hinder the delivery of humanitarian assistance.
We have seen an improvement, but there are still impediments. The improvement we've measured in the volume of aid that we're collecting on the Gaza side of the crossing. So, for example, in the 10 weeks leading into the ceasefire, we were picking up on average about 1,100 pallets of aid a week. That's positive, but of course we're coming off an incredibly low base and it's still nowhere near enough.
In August, a UN-backed hunger monitor determined that famine conditions were affecting about 500,000 people, or a quarter of Gaza's population. Children were severely affected by hunger as the war progressed, with experts warning that the effects could cause lasting damage. Reporters Without Borders said Israel is responsible for nearly half of all journalists killed this year worldwide, with 29 Palestinian reporters slain by its forces in Gaza. In its annual report, the Paris-based Media Freedom Group said the total number of journalists killed reached 67 globally this year. It said Israeli forces accounted for 43% of the total, making them the worst enemy of journalists. The most deadly single attack was a so-called double-tap strike on a hospital in South Gaza on 25 August, which killed 5 journalists.
Les journalistes, très clairement aujourd'hui, ce sont les forces armées israéliennes qui ont opéré tout à la fois une campagne de discrédit, mais aussi des frappes ciblées contre les journalistes qui ont en quelque sorte porté ce bilan dans une ampleur qui est tout à fait considérable. Il y a aussi...
In total, since the start of the Gaza war in October 2023, nearly 220 journalists have died, making Israel the biggest killer of journalists worldwide for 3 years running. Foreign reporters are still unable to enter Gaza despite calls from media groups and press freedom organizations for access. Reporters Without Borders noted a growing tendency to smear journalists as a way to justify the crime of targeting them. It said this is a deliberate targeting of journalists because they inform the world about what is happening on the ground. The European Union, EU, has released 2.1 million euros in emergency flood relief aid for Sri Lanka, Indonesia and Thailand. The European Commission said this funding will serve to provide essential relief to the most vulnerable communities. As much as 1.5 million euros will back relief efforts in Sri Lanka, including 500,000 euros directed through the Disaster Response Emergency Fund of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. An additional 600,000 euros will aid humanitarian partners in Indonesia and Thailand, split equally between the two countries. Severe flooding across South and Southeast Asia in November and December this year caused large-scale displacement and extensive infrastructure damage, overwhelming national economies and disaster response systems. The death toll has risen to 950 in Indonesia, surpassed 600 in Sri Lanka, and reached at least 276 in Thailand. Still ahead, Ukraine is ready to hold elections. Stay tuned.
Menggosok baju sekaligus boleh menjimatkan elektrik.
A total of 22 people were confirmed dead after a fire broke out at the Terima drone office building in central Jakarta yesterday. A senior official with the information department of the Central Jakarta Fire Department office said that 29 fire trucks and 101 firefighters were deployed to extinguish the blaze. The senior official added that in that building, lithium batteries for drones are produced. The victims may have inhaled fumes from the burning battery materials. He noted that the fire was brought under control at 5:05 p.m. local time and all floors had been checked. Jakarta Disaster Management and Mitigation Agency said the casualties included 7 males and 15 females. All the victims have been taken to the Kramat Jati Police Hospital in East Jakarta. The building is the office of Terra Drone Indonesia, which provides drones for aerial survey activities with clients in the mining to agriculture sector. A shooting at Kentucky State University left one person dead and another in critical condition. According to police, a suspected assailant was taken into custody. Local police in Frankfurt, the state capital, and county sheriff's deputies made the arrest and secured the campus soon after reports of an active shooter. The Frankfurt Police Department did not provide further details. The suspect was not a student, but both victims were, and the shooting had taken place outside of a residential dorm. President Volodymyr Zelensky said he is ready to hold new elections in Ukraine provided security could be assured. This is following US President Donald Trump's comments which accused Kyiv of using war to avoid elections. Elections in Ukraine have been postponed under the imposition of martial law since Russia invaded the country. Zelensky said he has asked Ukrainian lawmakers to prepare proposals regarding the possibility of amending the legislative foundations and the law on elections during martial law. He said that for the vote to take place, security had to be assured in the country whose cities come under Russian drone and missile attacks on a daily basis. As such, he asked for assistance from the US as well as European allies to ensure security for holding elections. A presidential ballot was supposed to take place in March last year, but Ukrainian law prohibits holding elections under martial law. European Council President Antonio Costa has accused Russia of being behind several unidentified drones seen in the skies when Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's plane landed in Dublin on the 1st December. Irish police said they were investigating drones detected during Zelensky's visit to Dublin last week, with similar sightings over airports and sensitive infrastructure rattling European countries in recent months.
We have full confidence on Ireland to ensure the security of the country and the security of the European Council meeting here in Dublin. Unfortunately, what happened last week here in Dublin is another example of the hybrid attacks from Russia and the hybrid threats from Russia in the European territory.
The Russian embassy said it categorically rejected claims that Moscow was involved in the incident. Local media previously reported that several drones had been spotted by an Irish Navy ship operating near the flight path of Zelensky's plane as it approached the Irish coast last Monday. A no-flight zone was in effect around Dublin at the time. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed an executive order designating one of the country's most prominent Muslim civil rights groups, the Council on American Islamic Relations, as a foreign terrorist organization. The Florida chapter group's interim executive director, Hiba Rahim, said the order was made up of baseless claims based on conspiracy theories and completely unfounded allegations. CAIR's Florida chapter announced a lawsuit challenging the order. DeSantis' order alleges that the right group has ties to Hamas, while the group denied any ties to Hamas.
We're really upset to find that our governor has issued an executive order with baseless claims based on conspiracy theories and completely unfounded allegations against Care Florida. As a response, we have no choice but to meet him in the courts to have our court system, which is based on law and facts and truth, determine where justice lies in this case.
DeSantis told reporters on Tuesday he welcomed the lawsuit because it could offer the state an opportunity to examine CAIR's financial records and other documents. DeSantis' order also named the Muslim Brotherhood, founded in Egypt, as a foreign terrorist organization. The U.S. government has not designated CAIR or the Muslim Brotherhood as foreign terrorist organizations. The Florida order instructs agencies to take action to prevent CAIR from receiving any state contracts, employment, or funding. Britain on Tuesday sanctioned entities it accused of distorting information in favor of Russia, as well as 2 Chinese companies for alleged cyber activities against the United Kingdom and its allies. Foreign Office policy paper released a list of new sanctions. Among those sanctions is Russian media outlet Rybar, whose Telegram channel and network of affiliates in 28 languages reaches millions worldwide. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper said it used classic Kremlin manipulation tactics, including fake investigations and AI-driven content, to shape narratives into the Kremlin's favor. Cooper further noted that Rybar is partially funded by Russia's presidential administration, receives funding from state corporations, and has worked with Russian intelligence. Also sanctioned is the Prafon Foundation, which has been accused of being a front for Russian GRU Foreign Intelligence Agency. She said leaked reports suggest that Prafon finances the promotion of Kremlin narratives to Western audiences, as well as bankrolling legal defenses for convicted Russian assassins and armed traffickers. London also targeted Chinese-based Aisun, an Integrity Technology Group, for their vast and indiscriminate cyber activities against the UK and its allies. Canada has launched a $1.7 billion Canadian dollar program to recruit leading global researchers. And it's part of the efforts to poach intellectual talent looking to leave the US because of President Donald Trump's policies. Top Canadian institutions have previously announced multi-million-dollar strategies to recruit experts whose work has been impacted by Trump's broad cuts to scientific research. Canada's federal government has now joined this effort in what it called one of the largest recruitment programs of its kind globally. The plan, however, is not strictly catered to US-based researchers impacted by Trump. The Ministries of Industry and Health said the goal is to attract and support more than 1,000 leading international and expatriate researchers, including French speakers. Experts have warned that Trump's policies could trigger major shifts in the global competition to hire some of the world's brightest minds. Trump's funding cuts have impacted a range of research projects and studies that involve climate change or diversity, equity, and inclusion have been heavily affected. The United States is facing a sharp and sustained decline in international tourism as political rhetoric, stricter immigration policies, tariffs, and travel bans combine to erode the country's image as a welcoming travel destination. Tourism Economics, a travel research firm, projected a steep 8.2% fall in international arrivals into the U.S. for 2025, with total inbound spending expected to decline by 4.2%, a loss of $8.3 billion in visitor spending. Tariffs had already driven up costs and created uncertainty around imported goods, and the latest slump in international travel is making it even harder for local businesses to stay afloat. The situation has fueled fears of further job cuts in hotels, gift shops, and dining businesses.
Mainly from the tourism and hospitality area, where we struggle with the U.S. image right now. A lot of consumers have moved to different destinations because they can't rely on international.
The weakening outlook has been compounded by more complicated visa procedures and heightened policy uncertainty, reinforcing concerns that the United States is becoming harder and less inviting to visit. Moving on to sports, JDT held to goalless stalemate by Shanghai Port. Stay with us.
Dari Malaysia, semangat perjuangan atlet-atlet negara bakal menggegah Bangkok, Chonburi dan Songkla dalam meraihkan semasa sukan terbesar di Asia Tenggara. Pentas pertarungan, penentuan dan ketangkasan yang bakal diuji dibawakan dari 9 hingga 20 Disember 2025 di saluran OK, Sukan RTM dan RTM Click. Sukan Sea Thailand 2025 bersama RTM, penyiar rasmi.
And with that, more than 800,000 litres of water and the unveiling of the first green flame defined the SEA Games Thailand opening ceremony as the Ratcha Mankala National Stadium was transformed into a powerful symbol of unity. The main stage turned the stadium into a living symbol of the sea that connects all participating nations at the 33rd edition of the Biennial Games. The ceremony included a segment which saw water took center stage, featuring underwater ballet by 8 former Thailand national athletes, jet ski stunts and flyboard performers rising dramatically from the 800,000-litre pool. A total of 59 members of the national contingent proudly entered the stadium and donned batik shirts that projected a modern, bold Malaysian identity, fusing tradition with contemporary design. After King Maha Vajiralongkorn declared the games open, history followed with the lighting of the first green flame, redefining the traditional cauldron through a digital fusion of lasers, projection, mapping and drones. Designed to minimize fuel use, the flames signal a decisive shift towards sustainability without abandoning the game's ceremonial soul. Thailand's first two-time Olympic Games gold medalist Panipak Wongpathanakit of Taekwondo lit the cauldron, signaling the beginning of the athlete's journey until 20th December. In football, Johor Darul Tazim's JDT hopes of sinking Shanghai Port FC on home turf were dashed after they were held to a goalless draw in the AFC Champions League Elite Group Stage match at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium. The encounter saw the Southern Tigers dominate almost the entire match, but every attempt failed to find its way into the visitors' nets. The first 5 minutes saw JDT storm into Shanghai Port's defensive area and almost score through a Berita da Silva's effort. But the goalkeeper managed to make the save, and moments later, Jonathan da Silva's strike went narrowly wide. The score remained 0-0 until the half-time whistle, leaving JDT with the challenge of finding a breakthrough in the second half. As the match resumed, both teams sharpened their attacking play, yet the drought of goals continued. Shanghai Port's defence once again appeared impenetrable, blocking every effort from the Southern Tigers and making it difficult for JDT to breach their goal. Berita da Silva's golden opportunity in the 63rd minute rattled the crossbar, while Nacho Mendes' 73rd minute attempt struck the post. Attempt after attempt was made, but until the final whistle, the match ended in a goalless draw. The full match recorded 47 attempts by the Southern Tigers, with 11 on target. Meanwhile, JDT head coach Cisco Munoz is proud of his team's performance despite being held to a goalless draw by Shanghai Port. He said the Southern Tigers delivered a complete and high-intensity display from the first minute to the last, showcasing the true values and identity of JDT throughout the match. Asked whether luck played a role after JDT dominated but failed to convert their chances, Munoz said he'd never believe in luck. He noted that the team executed their tactical approach and game management plan to near perfection.
It's unbelievable today not take the 3 points. Only I have positive things for my players because today they give the 100 that they have inside. We have to control the game. We play very well. We arrive a lot of important chances, and sometimes the football have this face. Only I am sad for them because I know how they are working every day for arrive this type of the level of the performance.
Meanwhile, Shanghai Port FC head coach Kevin Muscat said the point gain last night was particularly meaningful as the team had been grappling with multiple injury concerns and player health issues ahead of the clash against JDT.
We incurred some challenges over the last week, even arriving here with players with illness and players not available, players getting injured during the game. So from a performance perspective, of course, the opposition created many more chances than us, but testament to the team led by Chen, with all the challenges that we faced. You know, they kept fighting, fought together as a group.
And in hockey, Malaysia clinched a 3-0 shootout victory over Japan after both teams were tied 1-1 in regulation time to secure the 13th place at the Hockey Men's Junior World Cup in Tamil Nadu. Malaysia took the lead in the 29th minute when Azimuddin Shakir Kamaruddin converted a penalty corner, but Japan equalised in the 53rd minute through Shun Hara's field goal. With the score tied at full-time, the match proceeded to a shootout in which three Young Tigers players, Muhammad Danish Aiman Khairul Anwar, Muhammad Adi Jazmi Jamlus and Muhammad Adam Ashraf Muhammad Johari, all found the net, while Japan failed to score any of their attempts. The victory is a positive conclusion for the Young Tigers after an underwhelming run in Group E and in the earlier classification matches.
Tetapi apa yang saya nampak, kita boleh matikan game tu dengan awal. Dalam first quarter kita ada banyak peluang, tapi kita sia-siakan peluang. Yang rasa kurang baik ialah kita lepaskan gol di kuarter keempat dan akhirnya diakhiri dengan penalti shootout lah. Dan saya rasa penalti shootout nampak goalkeeper kita Aziz memang nampak bagus lah. Nampak dia dah bersedia.
That wraps up all today. In our top story, Australia begins enforcing world-first teen social media ban. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Solar Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Brenda Paul, Salam Malaysia Madani, and take care.